Welcome to the Matrix Q podcast for the Golden Triangle of Entrepreneurship, the GTE tool.
What is the value of your community and network? Do you have communication with your neighbors? Have you ever done something together for benefit of your whole neighborhood or community or city? Do you know the skills you have available in your neighborhood? Do you know which are the persons that engage naturally to care for your community? Which is the quality of life your neighborhood, your community, your city is able to provide to you, and which are the conditions necessary for that quality of life to be stable? How much your community is aware of sustainability principles, of circularity practices, of inclusion guidelines. How many leaders you have in your community? How many resources do you count with? Who can help you in the situation of need? What is the type of economy, of exchange of value that takes place in your community? Do you have trading models? Do you have only economic exchange models like monetary exchange? Do you have any other economy model that you can use in your own community? How do you measure value? When we think about sustainability, there are two things that I would like you to reflect on. The first one is how the forest grows. In a forest, every tree, every plant, every animal will increase in numbers of its own species by facing the challenges of the ecosystem they are living in. Geographical conditions, weather conditions, altitude, water accessibility. A tree, for example, will start its life from a seed under the ground. With the right conditions, it will grow and transform itself in a sprout. A sprout that has a great power to become a tree, a great potential, but is so vulnerable to very tiny animals, and for sure to bigger ones, to the weather conditions. If this sprout manages to survive seasons and animals and unexpected events in the forest, like wind, for example, falling off all the trees, it will become slowly a young tree to one day be able to create flowers, if that's the species, the type of species that create flowers, and create fruits. The fruits at its own time will fall to the ground and nurture the seed for the life of a new tree. What does it mean? That in nature everything takes place at the right time. There is no way that you can accelerate the growing process of a tree, for example, to plant it today and expect it to be grown and provide future fruits for you tomorrow, unless you use DNA technology. But under natural conditions, this acceleration would make no sense. There is also a natural balance in life in the forest. There are certain limits for growth. There is certain amount of nurturing substances and access to food that will keep the ecosystem, the forest, in balance. So if you're thinking about it, and you compare the natural growing process of the forest surrounded by geographical limits, and the value chains, the ecosystems of business, the growing of cities that are mostly engaged in a behavior that create waste, create extinction of species and depletion of resources, and inequalities among humans. When we accelerate the growing process of a company in an improper way, the only thing we achieve is to damage the natural development process of that company, of that social entrepreneur, of that impact agent. Acceleration makes sense only when there is a foundation, the ability to accelerate. For example, when the fruit is ready to fall, gravity will accelerate its fall to the ground for it to have an impact in the forest. And I think the image is very clear. Before the tree is ready, the fruits cannot be given. But if we don't nurture the tree for it to grow, also the fruits will not come to place. So the role of stakeholders, of partners, investors, of a team is extremely important. A team that can invest themselves into the growing development process of a project, a social entrepreneurship project, a circularity project, an innovation project, an education project, a sustainable development goals project, an investment project. How much you invest yourself and care, nurture the project in time until it is ready to produce the fruits for it to accelerate then in its growth as a species. So those resources are necessary in the early time, and that is when early investment, seed capital, business angels, knowledge angels, technology angels, skills angels play a role. Because a company, a business, a project needs not only money, not only financial resources, it also needs knowledge, needs skills, needs a network, needs communication and collaboration, and needs, by all means, data, information of the situation they have to face. When an impact agent or social entrepreneur has the intention, the passion, the force, the spirit to create a positive impact in nature, economies, societies, then that individual, that team, that group of humans, that community is ready to engage and commit, to be accountable for their actions, to create impact. That is the first step of the journey, to make a choice. What are you here for? What are you going to engage for? What is the value of your time? What is the value of your knowledge? Of your innovation? Of your resources? What is the value of your money? Yes, the value of money is equal to the impact you create with it. At this point in time, when we study the natural way in which the forest grows and evolves, we know that diversity is important, self-organization is important, but also creativity, when the human comes into the forest, can disrupt, disturb the natural development process and harmony balance in the forest. So creativity has two sides: the ability to create a positive impact and the contrary. And we know how much our scientific research and technology has become the source of all the problems we have in the world today. Because our industry, that is not circular, is the result of scientific research and knowledge and innovation of the last 300 years. The concepts, models, and knowledge, principles applied that created the situation we have to solve today has been created through the belief that the greatest scientists and technologies and knowledge people of the past were right in their approach, in their statements. Today's science, the scientific research, the discoveries goes so fast, as well as innovation and technology, but which is the origin of that knowledge, of those patterns, of those principles, those approaches for thinking, perceptions for the needs that the world have. How we decide the systems that we need to create to solve problems based on which principles, on which knowledge. I think it is the time to re-evaluate what we have been accepted as truth. The knowledge we use, the principles we believe. It is time for us to think again, to start over. But not to do it without acknowledging the history we have in the past. We need to also acknowledge the positive work done for so many generations in humanity. To learn about the experiences and challenges created by impact leaders in the last 500 years, 5,000 years. Ancient cultures and civilizations did create nature-inspired technology, used nature-inspired knowledge, and managed to live in harmony with nature for some years, for some centuries, some of them. They managed to organize the community and the culture according to those principles and have a life in balance with nature. Only in the last 300 years, our scientific approach and technology-based approach and profit-oriented approach have disturbed the balance tremendously. So when we create knowledge that is useful for something, we need to also understand where this knowledge comes from and what we do with it. What's the impact we create with it? So today, intellectual property knowledge may have an impact in the generation of profit, but does it have an impact in sustainability? Does it have an impact in circularity, in social impact, in social inclusion, in social innovation? The values we use today, where our heart is, which is our identity, the principles behind our actions, our operations, the culture that we are sustaining and nurturing, is what guides our collective and ourselves as individuals. By knowing precisely what moves us, our patterns of thinking, individual and collective, we can make choices and decide changes and implement a transformation process, a change management practices for ourselves as individuals, for our company or project, but also for our community and our culture. The process necessary to create a new business culture is equal as the process necessary to create your own personal culture and your community or city or national culture. And that process needs to be natural, but should start from within, from yourself, from your ability to be aware of what you need to do in the world, to make a choice of the type of impact you want to create in the world. The Matrix Q GTE tool, the Golden Triangle of Entrepreneurship, will help you create a balance between your ability to communicate a message, to sell a product, to use a system, to utilize knowledge and blueprints, tools, but as well to be aligned to the values that you would like to care for, to the type of culture that you would like to nurture, and to measure your success and your ability so that you can improve your strategies and acquire the knowledge and skills that you need to excel, to become that type of entrepreneur able to create the impact, the positive impact in the world you want to see, to create the future you want. The Golden Triangle of Entrepreneurship, as a digital tool, will generate data for you to monitor your own progress and register, and this is very important, register your achievements, your decisions. Because without knowing what you have done in the past as a choice, without knowing the history of your development, your process in time, you won't be able to assess today why you are in the situation you are at the moment. And you need to know that. You need to know your weaknesses, your strengths, but also your own history. Not everything is about goals, but also about your own timeline and the decisions you made a long time, the changes you made a long time. And this is the point in which a network and collaboration with a community of impact agents, social entrepreneurs, stakeholders dedicated to support the transformation of our planet back to sustainability, that community, that network that shares the same values, the same intention, the same collective identity, caring for this planet, caring for humanity, acquiring knowledge, developing solutions. This interaction with them will accelerate your learning curve. At the Matrix Q ecosystem, we have created 3 spaces, 3 platforms for you to connect with other people, like-minded people that have similar challenges. The Matrix Q Alliance, a think tank dedicated to solve thinking and behavior change barriers. The Matrix Q competitions and challenges that will help you incubate, accelerate your social entrepreneurship projects, your impact projects, but also yourself acquire the knowledge, skills, tools to become a successful impact agent with a bootcamp program in the form of a competition which is gamified. We simulate challenges and give you prizes to support you in your journey and create with you a network of entrepreneurs that share knowledge and understanding of the challenges they have to face and the learnings they need to go through. And also the Matrix Q Academy, a school which offers certificates, licenses, training programs online so that you can choose the type of knowledge and skills you would like to develop today and share challenges with other students, creating projects together, simulating situations so that you can learn from each other experiences. And these experiences will be there in an archive of information that you can share with each other. In order to profit, to create more value for yourself in your interaction to the Matrix Q ecosystem, the only thing you need to do is to start by learning how to utilize the Golden Triangle of Entrepreneurship. This tool will help you access to all the information that is there available for you in the Matrix Q ecosystem, to all the experiences, to all the challenges, because it helps you structure your learning process. It helps you manage your work, your organization, your projects, your thinking process strategically.
Welcome to the Matrix Q podcast for the Golden Triangle of Entrepreneurship, the GTE 2.